Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today we're going to go ahead and kind of explore how to draw a few shapes, okay? Specifically, the sorts of shapes that you would expect to see on something like a bridge, okay? So we're going to be drawing bridges. So, from a side view, a bridge might have something like a shape like that, okay? So like, this would be one end of a harbor or something like that. You know, that's not too bad of a thumbnail sketch right there to, like, if we were to pretend as if these were waves in the ocean and this was something like a bridge of some sort. Wow, I'm actually having a lot of fun with this thumbnail. Like, I wasn't thinking that this would be something full on here, but this is actually kind of cool what I'm working on here. Okay guys, this wasn't part of the plan for the video, but I kind of instantly fell in love with this little thumbnail that was supposed to just be a little representative of what I was trying to say, just something like that, and it just wound up becoming this little miniature work of art. Oh, I love this image already. I want to see this image. Guys, if you guys just, you know what, take a screenshot. See, actually, let me see if I can mess with OBS here, just a sec. No, I can't. Ooh, I can adjust. Or not. What? Okay, I guess I'll see in the editing room what that just did, but can I shrink it? Oh, okay. No, I'm changing the resolution, it looks like. Dang it. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Okay. And like, somehow there's a way to capture information that's just, I don't know, within a specific region of your screen. I just haven't really explored that much. But, yeah. I just think that we got this really cool image. Just, you know what? If you guys are interested in possibly impressing me, which that would be cool if there are people, like, I don't know, some people might want to show me a drawing. You know, take a snapshot of this picture, and with everything that you've learned, try to remake this image. Go ahead and treat this as if it's your sketch. 100%. Just pretend as if you drew this sketch, and now you get to finish what I started. Take a screenshot, and after you watch this video, redraw this image and show it to me. I want to see if you guys can get interactive a little bit. But anyways, yeah, this is the general sort of shape that bridges tend to have. I'm going to select all these pixel layers, group them together, and call this awesome thumbnail. I am going to keep this file. Alright, awesome. So, but there are other types of bridges. You know, there's the bridges that kind of have an arc like that, and they have a swoop kind of like that. You know, that's one shape that they tend to have. Then there's bridges that are kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge, where on either side, here, let me draw this a little bit in perspective here, a little bit. This is loose perspective. On either side of the bridge, let me go ahead and erase this one here. The Golden Gate Bridge, I believe, it has these pillars, and it winds up having a bunch of cords that wind up connecting down throughout that bridge, kind of like that, okay? Just off the top of my head, this is just kind of sort of how bridges are constructed, how I understand them. Now, they could be subject to change, but the thing is this is the sort of imagery that I'm thinking of when I'm drawing it. So that's kind of the Golden Gate Bridge. I know it's messy, but that's kind of the idea. But, you know, ultimately, it all comes down to one thing. When you're drawing out a bridge or something like that, you need to know how to draw an ellipse. Now, I do have a video that talks about how to draw an ellipse, which is basically something circular or round. I mean, think about it. If you are looking at a drinking container, like a cup or something like that, if you're looking at a cup and you're looking at the rim, basically, yeah, it's usually a perfect circle right there. But you start pointing that purple circle away from you, and it becomes an oval. So an ellipse is basically an oval, okay? So what you do in order to draw out an ellipse inside a perspective is this, basically. You find center inside of a square, okay? Alright, so we have a square, we found center. Now let's go ahead and find halfway going up and down it, okay? Awesome. And then let's go ahead and follow the center from left and right, okay? Let's try that. Alright, now, this is the part where it gets interesting, okay? Because we've already done these steps before inside of the previous video. A link to the first and second videos in this series are up in the upper right corner of the screen right now, okay? You have to see these videos in order. I'm not joking. So, basically, I'm gonna color this red just simply because I want it to stand out. You draw out this diamond here, which in the end, you know, it's actually just a series of X's. But I want you to kind of picture this diamond, alright? As a series of like what I mean by it's a series of X's is this. You see the X, you see the X, you see the X. See, that they're all just X's. That's all they are. That's what makes up perspective, okay? But here's the thing. You're able to kind of use that as kind of a guideline in order to determine what an ellipse would look like. I did teach a much more technical route last time around, but this is the one that I have found I use more often than not. Primarily because it's just too much work. Like when you have like a billion ellipses to make inside of an image, like this to me is good enough. Like you're able to do a lot with that. It's enough to make it so that you don't have multiple perspectives inside of the image. You're viewing the world every single day with two eyeballs positioned in two different locations. It gives us depth perception, but you got to think about this. At any given moment of the day, every single day, you're viewing things from two different angles. Not very different angles, but they are still like an inch, maybe a little more, apart from one another, alright? So when you draw an image where there's just some very slight hand-drawn perspective, where the perspective may be off a little bit, sometimes you're able to somewhat trick the brain, I guess, when you're looking at the image. It can kind of trick the brain into thinking, oh, I feel like I'm looking at this from two eyes. So basically the thing that would make people do that is when you're freehanding your perspective, alright? And it's not always 100% precise. So let's go ahead and talk about a very simple bridge, okay? Let's talk about a bridge that that I drew out earlier, just like where we have these arches going through and maybe there's a handrail here, alright? We're going to draw a bridge like that. This is how a 2-year-old would typically draw a bridge or something like that. With their perception of how a bridge is in comparison to what I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's go ahead and make believe as though there's a horizon line right here, and let's have a vanishing point right there. Alright, with the vanishing point right there, let's draw a few boxes, okay? So I'm gonna start out this, I'm gonna call this the sketch layer, sketch, alright? And I'm gonna create a new layer, and I'm going to call this one red. Alright, and then I'm gonna click here, curves, not curves, I don't want curves. Gradient map, red sounds great. Go ahead and parent it into the red. Okay, so with that accomplished, let's draw out a bridge, the bottom face of, say, something like the length of what you want your bridge to be. Okay, that's basically it right there. So I'm just drawing with as little of a perspective grid as I can right now, because I feel like just kind of going a little loose. However, I am getting irritated with one thing. Okay, this is the main thing that irritates me when I'm drawing in one-point perspective nowadays, okay? Especially when I'm working digitally, like I mentioned in the first video. I need to have a vanishing point on the actual vanishing point. Otherwise, I'll have moments where I have no point of reference and I don't understand what's going on in the scene. Okay, yeah, see, without this vanishing point here, it makes it really difficult to really even make sure that your lines are even following the vanishing point. So it's just also just when I'm working digitally, that one thing that helps me be just a little bit more accurate and follow the rules. That looks fine. Okay, so that's the bottom face of the box. So let's lower the opacity of my vanishing point a little bit. That's just a little bit too crazy. Alright, so we are going to pick the height of this as well. Now what I've found is sometimes it's best to work on a face where you can see all of it, the entire face, and it also helps when it's close to you. So this face, I can see most all of its face with as little foreshortening as humanly possible, okay? Those faces are the ones that you're usually picking out specific details like height and width and stuff like that, alright? Sometimes you have to do it way out here where you decide how tall it is, but yeah, that's just what I've found. Okay, now I'm just going to follow this corner out towards the vanishing point, and then follow this corner off towards the vanishing point. Awesome. Okay, now let's go ahead and make believe that is the intersection and say that's good, because that would be more accurate actually. Okay, so now we need to figure something out, okay? Let's say we want two bridges. Let's say we want a bridge that occupies this space right here, okay? But let's say we want it to be the same distance away from us, from this back face here and from this front face right here, okay? We might want that. But not only that, but we might want to get this measurement that occupies this bottom face of this box that we've created, okay? We might want this whole mass right here, and we might want maybe one distance away, and then maybe two distances away, okay? Now, you know when people who try to teach you how to draw, they're usually talking about how to draw people. Everyone seems to know how to draw people, but or from a picture, or basically they just don't know how to draw backgrounds most of the time. So this is what they normally do. They say, okay, so you have a person, and you know, from his collarbone down to his groin, it is 3 heads long. Okay, from here to the wrist, it is also 3 heads long. Okay, and then the hand, when the fingers of the hand are fully spread out, the distance from here to here is a full head length. So the hand, 1 head long sometimes, okay? You know, A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y. Remember that? Well, this is another one of those things right there. Problem is that most people's hands don't do that. Most of the time, people's fingers tend to kind of curl up quite a bit. I'm trying to freehand a hand real quick, but a hand is just about as advanced as drawing a face. So from this point down to the knee, the calf, and the start of the ankle, we have 4 heads length. And then the ankle is 1/2 of a head length, okay? So this is how this stuff is measured with anatomy. Well, guess what? Things are measured very similarly in general inside of artwork. Exactly the same way as measuring a head and finding out that on average a human body is measured out that way. Okay, so this is the same sort of logic that we're going to be using. So I know that this line is wrong, and I know that this line is wrong. I just don't know how much, but I eyeballed it, and this is what I think it is. So I'm going to go ahead and just lower the opacity of this red layer right here, okay? And I'm going to create a new layer and call it blue, and I'm going to add an adjustment layer, gradient map, and I said I wanted it to be blue. Parent it into the blue layer. Okay, so right here, the main subject of the topic is this area. This is the area that I colored in red earlier, okay? So in order to get the measurement out here, what we need to do is we need to do a few things, okay? I'm gonna create another layer just for your benefit, okay? And I'm gonna call it green, and create a adjustment layer, gradient map. We're gonna color this green, and that's just not the right shade or saturation. Alright, that looks good, and I'm gonna parent it into the green channel. Alright, so we are going to draw an X right through the center. This is the natural evolution of pretty much every measurement. You have to measure center for one reason or another. And then you draw a horizontal line that goes right through the zone that you want to be measuring, okay? And let's go ahead and draw a line just like this one, okay? On the bottom. Now this is where the magic happens. I'm gonna create another layer here, add a gradient map, change the color to purple, call the layer purple. Alright, so with the purple layer, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line just like that, okay? Now, I want to keep that because I did that perfectly the first try. Okay, so basically, you take this point right here and this point right here and you join them. Boom, okay? It's going to be just like that. And right where it collides, right here, this right here will be the measurement. This width is the same, it's equal to this width, okay? They're both equal. This length away from you is equal to this distance away from you. Okay, what more could you hope for? Okay, so that's basically how it's thought. So I'm going to press Control V because I drew that earlier and I loved it so much. So I'm going to draw this out a little bit more properly. Let me use the green lines because that's what I was using earlier, and just go ahead and draw these out like that. Alright, just look at that. That is pretty sweet. Alright, so what if we need to do it again? Well, we take this point, and join it with this point, and it will be the measurement towards the vanishing point from that point forward. So we just go ahead and whoop, and oh wow, first try again. And we're going to go ahead and extend this out. See how wrong I was? This was my original thought. I was so wrong. That's what happens when you're judging things like proportions like this in perspective. Proportions are hard to really get right because you're looking at things from different angles on a flat surface. It's really hard to describe. It's the trippiest thing to try to describe, the picture plane. And honestly, like people have tried to describe the picture plane, but it's confusing. It's basically sculpting a three-dimensional object on a flat surface, an imaginary flat surface in your brain, okay? So if we need to do another measurement, we just go like that. Ooh, first try again. Oh boy, goody. So yeah, I was a whole bridge width off with my original guess, okay? So I'm going to press Control Z, and this is all that we need for this sketch. Let me go back to the red layer, erase the stuff that I don't need, bring the red layer on up on the stacking order, pull out the brush. Okay, so let's say we have a bridge right here. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. Now we need to make sure that the height is the same. So, you know, things can get really confusing when your layers are all 100% opacity, so I'm going to start lowering the opacity on some of these. And, you know what, I'm going to start using purple. Purple sounds great. So with purple, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw this line. Ooh, that's not dark enough to be illustrative to you guys. That's still not dark enough. Let's bring the purple up. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to take this line right here and I'm going to extend it out. And, you know, now we have the guideline necessary to tell us just how tall this box needs to be. Okay, so now we just need to extend this out towards the vanishing point and extend this one out towards the vanishing point. Okay, so I'm going to use the sketch layer and just kind of draw out these boxes. Okay, so that's cool. Now, let's say we want to do that again. Let's pull out the green layer and let's just go ahead and draw out another extension and bring it to the vanishing point, okay? And go ahead and do that once more with the extensions. So that's one way of doing it. Let's just go ahead and do something simplistic here with another angle, okay? Still using 1 point perspective. Alright, let's do something like this. Okay, so that's terribly drawn out. Okay, so for you newbies out there, I drew two boxes that were longer than they were wide initially, okay? But for this box that I just drew to the right here, it's wider than it is far away from us, you know, lengthwise. So it's the direct opposite. But basically those arches are going to be right here, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to draw those. Alright, so first steps first. Alright, I don't need all of this stuff on the canvas that I currently have. Okay, so this is what I need here. With the red layer, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an X going through here, and I'm going to draw a line going straight up. Now, we can't do the same on this face that's drawn out. However, we can kind of redraw the interior here of this box. And so we're going to draw an X on this box because this is the box that we can see the most. This is the face that we can see the absolute most of this face. We can't see this face right here. We can see this. This is way too small to draw an X in. This one you can. Even though we're never going to see it in the final rendered image, it doesn't matter because this is how you do it. Okay? So we're going to just find center right here, and we're going to do the same thing on this one. Okay? We're just going to whoop. Not quite. Whoop. Nope, not quite. Okay, oh, that was close. Okay, that's good. And so let's just kind of boom. Alright, now let's draw a line going straight up. Alright, cool. So we have that. Now, if we draw an X here, and we draw an X right here, we have ourselves the 1/4 mark, or the 1/4 mark. Okay, so let's use this X right here. And yeah. Now, again, I'm referring to this X. These are new X's that I just created on these faces, just like they will be new X's when I draw them on these faces. Alright, if you need a different color, so be it. Go ahead and use a different color. In fact, I'll go ahead and use purple, just so that it's just a little bit of clarity for you. Okay, so now we also coincidentally have the same system in order to measure the 1/3 mark, which is this collision right here. Here and here. Here and here. Okay, so if I draw a line going through here, these two intersections, and a line going through right here, I have something kind of cool. I mean, I have 1/3 measurements. What I mean by that is this. Let me pull out purple again. This mass right here is the same size as this mass right here. And it's also the same size as the mass out here. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay? 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Let me go ahead and backtrack here. Okay, so 1/4 measurements. This is what I meant. This right here, this mass right here, is the same size as this mass right here. So these two masses are the same size as individual objects as this one and this one. Alright? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then 4/4. That's what's meant by that. And you saw me draw each one. Okay, let me go ahead and start over with some of this. Let me press Ctrl Z a bunch of times because I don't want to actually keep all of that on the canvas. Okay, cool. So, if I were to draw out a box, draw an X in it, draw a line going straight up and down, and then draw two X's on the sides, and draw a line vertically going through both of those new X's, okay? You can see I've just created 1/4 measurements. Now, if I do the same symbol, but I look at a different set of intersections, where I draw out an X, draw a vertical line going through it, draw out an X to the right of it, and then let's go ahead and draw another X, and we can remember where those two X's centers are, and we know that they're not the ones that we need, okay? So that leaves these intersections available, okay? Let me go ahead and use a different color for that. It makes these intersections available when you remember that we do not want these centers, okay? So when you use these intersections to draw a vertical line going through, you have 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. Okay? Same symbol, but you're paying attention to different things. Alright? And if it does help you to draw out a dot on an X in order to remind yourself, do not pay attention to these specific intersections, do it if it helps you, okay? So, like, if you need a screenshot this image, like, screenshot that. Keep that in your notebook full of advice on how to draw pictures, okay? Gosh, man. I just want to take a moment and bring this moment to you by this thumbnail. I love that thumbnail. Okay, so if you guys still want to participate in this thumbnail drawing that I suggested earlier, if you draw the previous version, I'll know how far you got in this video. Take a screenshot of this image and then show me your version of it. I want to see that. And if you guys want to really show it to me, I have a Discord channel that you guys can check out. The works in progress and share your work channels inside of my Discord are really informative, and I think you guys would like them. A link to it will be in the video description below. And if you just keep finding yourself watching my videos for any particular reason at all, then feel free to give a like, share, and subscribe. Alright, so now let's get back into this, okay? Let's get right into it. So I'm going to just delete this information right here. You guys should have that screenshotted and all that good stuff. Alright, so now that we've gotten all of these measurements, what do we do with them? Well, we might want to do a few things. For example, let me ask you a question. Do we want to have this space right here? Like, this is how I'm envisioning it before anything, before I start actually fleshing it out. I picture, you know, I got this little diamond right here that kind of looks interesting. You know, I could do something like that, but that would look more like a Western style of bridge. This is something that you would expect to see inside of America. This is how our architecture, and even England's architecture to some extent, happens to be, alright? Where we have stuff like this, okay? A bridge like that is something that's kind of like what we'd see in America. It's not the right kind of bridge. Something that would be more within the range of like what we'd expect out of China or something, is where maybe this might be completely swooped like that, and maybe this might be completely swooped right here, where maybe it would be more dramatic. Maybe it would be more like that for this face of this object. And then maybe through this halfway point, maybe right here, we have a plane, okay? A plane. This is a plane, this mass right here. This portion of this face. This is a series of guidelines which typically form into a imaginary surface, okay? An imaginary face, and it has all the measurements that you want for it to have. But a plane can extend all the way out into eternity, okay? Like, it's just a conceptual object that doesn't really physically exist, okay? That's what a plane is. So, with this plane, we have a series of measurements here. We have this area here, and we have this area right here. So, does that mean that we go ahead and, like, create, like, a half circle in here somewhere, and then create another half circle right here, and another half circle? I think that sounds right. Now, the thing is this distance here and this distance here, if they're not perfect measurements, let me tell you what I mean. Okay, I'll get the green layer. If this little distance right here and this little distance don't match up perfectly, I haven't really found too much of a problem having a few things inside of a composition not measure out perfectly. I know there are artists out there that just demand to have the exact, you know, everything, but the thing is if you have that mindset, you'll never finish anything in a lot of cases. And you also have to think about this. Does it really matter? I mean, seriously, because for those of you that are still just starting out, you know, you have to start somewhere. And if it's creating if what you are making with as few rules as humanly possible, if you are still able to produce a professional looking image, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to completely ignore this stuff here. Now, you know, in a way I could go ahead and just say that's good enough. All of this is good enough, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use this yellow layer that I just created here, and I'm going to make sure it's dark enough that that should be good enough. Yeah, that's dark enough for a yellow. Alright, so I'm going to just use this square that I've created right here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and follow it out towards the vanishing point, and I'm going to erase what I don't need here, pull out my brush, and I'm going to finish drawing out these squares. Okay, that to me looks good. Alright, so I'm going to pull out my brush and I'm going to go ahead and find center inside of these right here. And I'm going to draw a line that goes right through center horizontally towards the vanishing point and vertically. And now I'm going to draw out that diamond. Now, do I want this, is what I'm thinking, or do I want this? And to be honest, I think I actually want the lower one for this. Some of this is just me experimenting with proportions. Okay, so that looks cool. Alright, so let's do that on the other side. Awesome. Okay, now we need to grab that yellow layer. Alright, and we are going to draw out, you know, I'm kind of thinking about a shape that fits within the 1/3 mark vertically. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Something like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw out an X here. Awesome. A vertical line going straight up and down, and a line that's horizontal moving towards the vanishing point. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw out those diamonds. And oh, you know, that actually looks so cool, where it almost forms a circle. Like, I could have drawn this as a circle, but I decided not to, because that wouldn't really quite be what we're looking for. So I'm gonna go back to my sketch layer and I'm gonna draw this thing out. I think that does look kind of like Asian architecture right there. Okay, that looks awesome. And now we're going to go ahead and draw out this dome of this bridge right here. Awesome. So we have an issue here. We could go ahead and pull out the red layer here and kind of extend this out towards the vanishing point. And we need to find center on this back face that we won't be able to see when the image is fully composed. Okay, so we have center right here. So I'm going to draw a line that goes straight up and down. And don't worry, we don't need to copy all the same measurements on this face that we did on this face. Okay, that would be a little bit ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line that's horizontally moving towards the vanishing point from this center once again. Well, wait a second. Actually, maybe not. Let's go ahead and just copy a few of these lines that I've drawn here. I need the 1/3 mark, so I'm going to draw a line going from this corner up here, and basically it's an X in either one of these boxes. Okay, here, let me show you. I draw an X right here, and we have 1/3 marks going through here. Not just vertically, but horizontally as well. Okay, those are 1/3 marks. So that means that this, let me go to my yellow layer. That means that this collision of intersections here and this collision of intersections right here is the same as in this original face, and I can actually, if I wanted to copy this face exactly, I could do this, and I could go ahead and do a few more measurements and find out what this shape is or whatever, and we could do the same thing over here, but I don't really feel the need to do that. What I need is this. I need to draw out this arch right here, just like that. Okay, so let's go into the sketch layer. Let's draw that out with the sketch layer. Okay, so far so good, but it still doesn't look like a bridge, does it? Okay, well, in this case, we need to start adding some faces, alright? So, what we do is we need to have a horizontal line that goes from the furthest point here, well, let me grab the purple layer, furthest point here, and moves all the way out here, okay? And hits the furthest point here. So this is the furthest point up, and this is the furthest point up right there. And I just joined them with a line, alright? And what does that give us? Well, we need to start drawing out the top face to the railing of this bridge. And I kind of like the idea of there being a thick bulkiness to this. And, you know, at this point, you know, if I really wanted to be super accurate and such, I could go to my blue layer here and just get rid of what I got going on in blue here. And I could actually draw a line that goes straight down here. And let's see, I need to think about how wide this is and how wide it'll be out here. So I'm going to draw a line that follows the vanishing point close to us, and then a line that goes straight down after it hits that intersection, or when it creates that intersection. And so I'm going to then draw out this bottom face, and that creates another plane, okay? And this is what this plane has given us. If I draw a line that goes right here and right here, if you only look at where these blue lines are, we have a box. Okay, let me deactivate the other layers to illustrate my point. See, we have a box right here. Let me go ahead and flesh it out a little bit more without any of the sketch here, and you'll be able to see just how accurate this is a box. Okay, so let me go ahead and start activating these other layers. Okay, yeah, see, the blue lines match up with all the black lines that I've drawn out really well. But we don't need to think of it as a box, really. We really don't. All we need out of this is we need to picture this blue box just as a plane at this point. I just showed you a relationship that was intentional when I created this. And you just saw the workflow involved for that intentional decision that I just made, okay? That box was a series of measurements, basically, is what it is. But I don't need to draw out the box in order to understand the measurements. I just know that it worked. And this back face is all that we need. This back face of this imaginary box that's in your mind that you saw me draw out, but is now no longer on the screen. So what we need to do is we need to draw a diagonal line that goes right through here, because there's a diagonal line that goes right through here. And you know what? I am going to find center right here, because we did find center here on this other face. We have a line going through here and a line going right through here to signify center right there. Okay, so we just need to find center there. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line towards the vanishing point right through this blue box. And it is getting messy, but the only thing you need to pay attention to is blue. Okay, blue is the only thing that exists right now. I just want you to kind of think of it that way. The blue lines are the only things that exist. Okay, so on this one we have a line that goes, okay, we did an X, we found center, and from center out is what we need. From center out. Alright, so from center out. Okay, cool. But anyways, so at this point we have a 1/3 measurement intersection here. And we kind of need that, I think, don't we? No, we don't. We don't need that. Okay, so I don't know. I think I went a little overboard with this one. I think all I need to do is use this diagonal, this blue diagonal that I'm drawing in as black, okay? And I think I went way too overboard, which is unfortunate. I'm just going to draw out an arc that goes through like that. Now, this may confuse you at this point because, oh, you know, this area, this region right here, it doesn't make any sense. It's going outside the lines because, like, of this line right here. Okay, so the initial box that I drew is like a brick, right? Well, we drew out this horizontal line to create a new face. Okay, that's what we did. So now that we have that, we still actually have this purple horizontal line that goes out through here. So we're going to go ahead and follow it just a little bit, but ultimately it's not going to be something earth-shattering out here. I think that if I were to draw out, let me pull out the purple layer and draw out a horizontal line that goes through here. So this region right here, I'm a little concerned about it. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out an X here and draw out a center that goes horizontally across, okay? And I'm going to draw out an extension here. And I'm going to see just how many of these there are. Okay, we kind of lucked out. This'll work, at least for me. One way of doing this is basically this, where you're able to, well, let me keep these. Basically, one way of doing all that is, and I need to do this without erasing too much because I could cause problems later on down the road. Okay, so let me just use this sketch layer, okay? If we were to draw out an X here, and draw a line going straight up, and we draw a line right through here, and then if we were to draw an X through here, you know, this halfway point is actually really close to what we decided upon with the arc and the thickness of this region here, okay? So if we were able to go like this, then that would determine its thickness right there. Okay, so it would be something like that. It's hard for me to really describe or show on paper because I have all of these guidelines down primarily because of educational purposes. And because of educational purposes, I can't show you even more advanced ways of making sure that your measurements are correct. Okay, so that's what's going on here. Alright, so if I need to have this right here. This is the thickness of that railing, that line that I just drew out. Okay, so I'm going to use the yellow layer. It seems to be my lucky little thing. And I'm going to draw a line that goes towards the vanishing point on the bottom of it and do the same thing out here on the top towards the vanishing point. And again, at this point, if it helps you to imagine that there is a box somewhere, then feel free to imagine it. So I'm just going to draw a diagonal line. This is what I should have done for the first one. That goes right through it. Alright, and then at this point I can actually pull out my sketch layer and just draw out an arc that will work. Actually, no, that's not right. Let me get rid of that diagonal just for now. Something else is kind of bothering me. Okay, now I don't want this region here, like if I were to draw this out like a tube, the floor of this would have its own arc as well, something like that. So that means that I need to arc this like that. Okay, cool. Let me get into the sketch layer and draw that out. Now, if this is good enough for you, these yellow lines right here, if that's good enough for you, go ahead and use it. But for me, I want to actually start erasing some of these yellow lines because they're driving me absolutely insane. They are all over the place. Okay, so we still have one more face to really start to consider, which will actually create two faces, alright? This is what it is. I'm going to pull out my brush, and with the yellow layer, I'm just going to draw a line just like that, and draw it towards us, and just do the same thing on this other side, and we'll have a plane within this region right here. Alright, that's a plane right there. So, I already know where center is right here because of all my other measurements. And so I can just kind of draw out an arc right here. But let me think about this for a second. Maybe I don't want that plane. Maybe the most important thing is right here, okay? So I have this line of center. Let me get rid of all those yellow lines, okay? So the top of this hits the center right here. So it's going to hit here. So, because this is the center of a mirror image sort of thing, if I'm making sense. So I should be able to just draw a horizontal line that goes straight across, and this collision right here tells me that this is the plane that I need to be concerned about. Maybe that's the plane that I need to be concerned about. So I'm just going to draw that plane out. Alright, cool beans. And so now I'm just going to draw a diagonal right here and draw a diagonal right here. Okay, so we have everything that we need for our sketch. We're going to draw a line that goes right through here, awesome, and meets this intersection, and then we are going to draw this something like that, okay? And now we can go ahead and erase all that we don't need. Let me go ahead and deactivate all these other layers. Alright, so at this point, if we wanted to draw these horizontal lines that go through here, we can, and we're going to go ahead and erase some more that we don't need. And, you know, that looks somewhat like an Asian sort of thingamajig. Like if we were to pull out, I don't know, for me, stone is the most superior product, and so I'm always interested in putting stonemasonry on things like this. So we have a bridge. You can see that. Looks kind of cool. Yeah. Now imagine if a person was standing on it and they were about that tall. We got a guy leaning against the railing, and we have another guy that's kind of standing there as if he's having a conversation with himself or something. When you add something to the scene, such as a person or something, it makes what you've drawn look like it's less of a toy, okay? But the thing is if you're able to draw it to where you don't need to have people in the scene in order to make it not look like a toy, then that does wonders for everything. This wound up looking more like a toy, primarily because the lines are all sketchy. Now, if I were to go the extra mile and start inking it and making the lines all nicely refined and everything, great. But if I were to leave all of this empty so that there's no masonry, no stone masonry or anything, it would take out a lot of the dimension to it. We're not used to seeing this shape in Western culture, so, you know, just keep that in mind. But it is kind of an interesting looking thing. I mean, like, if I were to, like, start drawing out, like, bonsai trees off in the distance, maybe even show how the river's coming in, you kind of get a sense of that they're in an environment, an actual living, breathing location. And maybe there might be a sunset here. Alright, cool. Alright, so the next stage that we need to start tackling is this one, pointed at us, okay? We're going to cover that in another video, alright? I'm not going to torture you and say you have to watch through this entire video and watch me draw all three of these from different angles. So, anyways guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell or go ahead and follow me on Twitter. A link to my Twitter as well as my Discord is in the video description below. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a link in the upper right corner of the screen right now. It's a picture of my mascot, leads to my Patreon. Any support would be much appreciated. And if you guys would like to see any more of my content, feel free to click on anything that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.